Let me ask you, speaking of your own child, could you ever openly say to anyone, or even say it to yourself in private, if I had the chance to go back and do it over again, I don't think I would have had my kids. I don't think it was worth it. After all the crap that we went through, I'm not sure it was even the right thing to do. Could you say that about your child? Could you say that about your child who is missing? Yeah, I couldn't. I don't know about you, but Brenda and Danny Jones sure said it. And I believe they meant it. And the bad part, I mean, other than the fact of saying it about your child, is this was an adopted child that they chose. It wasn't like it was an unexpected pregnancy. It wasn't like something that just happened to them and if they'd have made a different decision, they could have just stopped. This was a child who they had knew for a year and a half. Brenda worked with her in the special needs department, mental health, whatever it was. She had worked with this child from the time she was 18 months old until she was 3 years old, and they found out that she was being the parental custody was being terminated, and Brenda and Danny chose to adopt this child. And when they found out later on that she had a brother, they chose to include him in the adoption. And because of whatever problems these two children had, mental problems, whether it be bipolar or ADHD or depression, whatever the problem was. Danny does bring it up in his interview quite often about all the problems they had raising these kids. He makes the statement that he's not sure that he would do it again if he had the opportunity. That he doesn't know, with all that they've went through the years raising these children, if it would have been worth it. That was just one of the red flags that, I mean, I'm not saying these parents done anything to this child. By no means, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, wow, could a parent really just sit there and cold-heartedly, that's the only word I can think of, say such things about their child, about their children? Now keep in mind, they have 3 elder children. They have their oldest, I'm assuming that it's biological children, but their oldest child, who's 25 now, they have a set of twins, which is early 20s. They have Kaylee's brother, who is evidently old enough to be out on his own, because they speak about him being out on his own. And they have Kaylee. And Danny, the dad, as he's talking with Sleuth Mom, he talks about as he's raising these 2 children, or as they are raising these 2 children, that in the younger years, that it's a little bit better now, but in the younger years, especially when both of them were at home, they might have 2, maybe 3 good days where the kids acted good, where the kids didn't give them trouble, didn't act up, didn't act out. But for the majority of the time, it was a constant fight to control these children, to deal with them. And, you have to wonder, how hard was it for a young teenage girl who's already going through all of the stuff that young teenage girls go through, the puberty, the teenage years, the friends, in the case of being homeschooled, the no friends, she didn't have the peers to speak with, to talk to complain to understand that the other girls her age are going through similar feelings, similar problems with the parents. She had doctors, she had psychologists, I'm assuming, or at least I know they were trying to get her in to see more psychologists. But just to have a friend to talk to, her mom, Brenda, refers to her as her sidekick. They were always together, always. And then she talked about they would take rides on the horses every day, and that would be her and Kaylee's time together. Where was the friends for this kid? Who did she talk to? Who did she confide in? The dad goes through and talks about how him and a friend of his who's high tech went through her computer. They set every block they could possibly set on her phone and her computer. How do you think this child felt? I mean, did she feel honestly like she was loved and cherished and was, just a regular teenager, or did she feel more like she was a prisoner? I mean, she's got law enforcement telling her, bringing her back, telling her, if you do this again, we're just going to bring you right back unless you can show proof that there's abuse. Oh, speaking of abuse, I watched another channel who said that someone, I'm assuming a friend of Kaylee's, who saw her when she ran away in February and talked with her, that Kaylee had told her she didn't run because her mom took the phone back in February. She ran because the mom supposedly drug her across the kitchen floor by the hair of her head. Now, we know by what the dad said that when law enforcement brought her back that day in February, and he had told her, we're going to continue to bring you back if you do this again, unless you can show proof. Well, evidently, Kaylee did make a claim to law enforcement because the dad speaks about CPS showing up. The audio started cutting out, so I'm not exactly sure if it was the same day, the next day, or a couple days later, but he talks about CPS showing up and them having to speak with them. So evidently, Kaylee did make some type of claim, I'm assuming of abuse, to law enforcement, but law enforcement brought her home anyway and left her and informed her that this would continue to happen. So, like I said, did she feel like a loved, misunderstood teenager, or did she feel like a prisoner?